different travel industry associations. As yesterday during our networking session, one of us, we were talking about our CTIS, and Tammy Googled the acronym, and that led her to believe that some of us were Central Tire Inflation System specialists. So although we do sell to our tour groups, I would not hire me to inspect a motor coach tire, especially with 50 passengers on it, nor would I even hire me to change a tire. So to backtrack, Catherine has earned NTA's Certified Tour Professional designation. So that's the CTP. And that being said, NTA stands for the National Tour Association, which she joined in 1994. Catherine focuses on strategic continuity, member engagement, and professional development to ensure NTA's long-term growth and viability. Catherine has also been appointed to the U.S. Travel and Tourism Advisory Board, which serves as an advisory board to the Secretary of Commerce on government policies and programs that affect the U.S. and tourism industry, as well as offers counsel on current and emerging issues. The Nashville CVC, which is where I work and represent, has been a longstanding member of NTA. We had the opportunity to host its convention in the 90s. We've hosted its annual board meeting, and most recently the closing night event for NTA's virtual conference, which was in November of 2020, where we had Lewis and York perform live from the Grand Ole Opry stage. So kind of some silver linings in, this whole COVID era is doing things that we normally wouldn't, and it turned out to be fantastic, and it was a great way to close an event. Catherine has some exciting topics that she will be speaking on this morning in regards to how tour operators are pivoting in this new time. Some great statistics for us all to have a better understanding for the current industry and benefits of working with our PTOs. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Catherine Prather.
Great. Stacy, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Stacy, I really appreciate that kind introduction, and for Nashville's support of NTA over the years. And if Lewis and York was amazing for our final night, it was just the perfect way to end a fantastic time together. And it's actually really awesome to see a lot of familiar faces on these screens today. And Stacy, also want to thank you for the support of Heritage Clubs. Ted, thank you so very much for the honor of inviting me to be here today. And I want everyone to give a lot of grace to Tina, because having gone through producing a virtual show, it is not an easy thing. So Tina, thank you for everything that you've done to help me to prepare for this session. And to all of the HCI bankers and the preferred tour operators and the partners, wow, we have been through it, right? We're not out of the woods yet, but there is such a desire for travel, and the tour operators and their partners, they're planning, they're booking, and some are already out on the road. So I want to thank you for your dedication and commitment to travel and tourism, and for your resiliency. The travel industry is extremely resilient, and it's driven by a desire, and in fact, I say even a need to get out there and explore. Travelers and travel professionals have adapted the way that we travel on many an occasion when we've been confronted by crisis. And this past year has been no different. I mean, we have been tested far beyond our imaginations. And to that end, every day throughout the pandemic, I have been motivated and inspired by NTA's members, including your amazing preferred tour operators and the partners, for the actions that they've taken, boosted by their resiliency. It's for the mitigation protocol that they've implemented, for the pivot after pivot that they have introduced, and for the extreme care that they've taken, excuse me, for the health and safety for not only their customers, but for their employees. I know there have been a lot of really hard decisions that we've had to make, yet everything has been done with the future in mind and ensuring a safe and financially viable return to travel. So this morning, I want to share an overview of our national travel scene And we'll take a look at the near term and what we're hearing about travel. And then I'll share how the pandemic has changed the landscape of escorted tours and package travel. So with that, I am going to start my screen share. Okay. So and actually before I dive in, I do want to share a very quick 411 about NTA. So we are US based, and the majority of our membership, as you can see, is US based. However, we have a diverse membership that is coming from more than 40 countries, and we do package travel globally. Our members include tour operators, travel advisors, hotels, restaurants, attractions, experience providers, cruise lines, airlines, motor coach companies, and destinations. And our supplier and destination members really appreciate that we vet our tour operators. And we do that before they join, and then we also do that on an annual basis upon renewal. And I love and respect the breadth of our tour operator community. They're small companies, they're mid-size operations. We have international multi-brand corporations. They serve travelers of all ages, lifestyles, race, and ethnicities, and then they offer an amazing array of activities and product. But the commonality is that they're all travel professionals and top quality. So that's what you have with your PTOs. Okay, so let's dig in, and I want to start at the macro level and just briefly touch on the benefits of travel. So, beyond the economic importance of travel and tourism, there is immeasurable intrinsic value as well as immense psychological benefits to travel. There are many silver linings to this pandemic. I know we need to look at that so we don't really go, insane. And one is that no one doubts after this the criticality of travel and tourism and hospitality for our national and global economy. And then likewise, the sooner that we can fully get back out there to open minds and connect cultures through travel and have the psychological boost of planning a vacation and then actually taking it, we'll all be in a better place. And bankers, I know that you offer travel because it's an amazing way of building customer relationships. So you understand yet another invaluable benefit of travel, and that's building a community. And that's why it's really a time to start planning and to start doing that now. So looking at our industry, the hits have been many and they have been hard. 39% of all jobs lost in the US due to the pandemic have been in travel and tourism and hospitality. So that's nearly 4 in every 10 jobs lost. And when you isolate leisure travel, there was a 30% loss in travel and spending in 2020 over 2019. So that's a loss in spending of $248 billion with a B dollars. And then when looking at the loss in spending of travel related to all types of travel, and that would be leisure, business, meetings, and conventions, this was compounded by a $64 billion drop in federal, state, and local tax revenue. So there are some predictions that it will take 5 years for the travel industry to fully recover, and that is far too long. So we need to do everything that we can to shorten that recovery period. And in that, I'm talking about all of us supporting the safe reopening of travel, and also doing everything that we can to advocate for ongoing relief because it is still needed, and other important measures that are in President Biden's American Rescue Plan, which is what has been recently released. And this includes grants for our hardest hit industries, of course, including travel and hospitality, and then additional funding for vaccine distribution, which we all know is vital to helping travel businesses safely open and remain open. And when these businesses can get back to business and then also sustain themselves, the entire economy will benefit, because really one of the quickest ways that we can drive revenue to our local economies is through travel and visitor spending. So that's why we all need to do our part in getting a handle on the virus. And the good news is, I'm sure you're all aware that the number of cases, confirmed cases and hospitalizations are on the decline, and the Biden administration has made vaccine distribution a priority as well. So, as well as funding for testing. So those are all really good things. And then another hopeful note is that Congress has requested of the Department of Commerce, they want Commerce to provide actionable steps that the federal government can take to help the travel industry recover from the crisis. So earlier I said, people now know the value of travel, so that Congress is actually asking of this, of commerce related to travel is a very good thing. And Stacy mentioned that I have been appointed to the U.S. Travel and Tourism Advisory Board, and we've had multiple meetings since January to work on this plan. And the TTAB, as it's called, we represent all segments of the industry. And unfortunately, I can't go into further detail because we actually have our final meeting this Friday to approve the plan that we'll take to the secretary as soon as she is confirmed. So I'm not at liberty to share more information, but we really have had some good meetings, and I feel good about the work that we have been doing. Okay, so now I'm going to dig into some information, and I do want to let you know that this is based on a survey that we just finished a couple of weeks ago with our members. So this is brand new information. In fact, you guys are the first to see this. But we asked our members when they expect their business to outperform 2019. We first asked this question back in September of last year. Unfortunately, the recovery timeline now has been spread out a little bit longer, but you'll see that they did confirm that it is going to be a multi-year recovery. 33% of our tour operators say that it'll be 2022 before they're back to 2019 levels. 46% point to 2023, and then another 13% say it won't be until 2024. And on the slide, you can also see where we have what our suppliers and our destinations also have said. And as I was just referring to, we all need to do what we can to shorten this recovery period. And now I want to turn to some data about inquiries and booking of travel. And on the slides, I have it broken down by domestic and international travel, and I'll focus on domestic business since our borders are now closed. But this will give you an idea as to what's happening now and in the near term with both segments. So 31%, and domestic is on the left side, of our tour operators say that they're receiving inquiries for domestic travel in the second quarter. And this jumps to 79% for the third quarter for domestic travel inquiries, and then 72% for Q4. And then 66% are already looking to next year. And then when we look at inquiries for international travel, the largest numbers come in for the fourth quarter at 67%, and then 86% are already looking at 2022. All right, now we're going to turn to bookings. Good news is that these numbers are fairly close to the percentages that we just looked at for inquiries. So that's a good thing. People are not only inquiring, but they're booking. So 25% of our operators say that they're receiving bookings for domestic travel in the second quarter. This jumps to 71% for third quarter domestic travel bookings, and then 64% for Q4. And we already have 57% that are booked for 2022. Now, when we look at the bookings for international travel, once again, the numbers, biggest numbers come into play with the fourth quarter at 76%, and then 86% for 2022. And these are bookings, mind you. Okay, so you may be wondering about the ages of these travelers. And from our stats, we looked at everything from student travel up to age 75 plus. I pulled our stats on ages 55 and older, based primarily on the average age of your current customer. And you can see that for travelers age 55 and older, and that is all three of the color bars on the blue chart. So once again, that's for domestic travel. They're getting very active for making inquiries and bookings in the third and fourth quarters. And then take a look at international travel. So for your travelers aged 55 to 74, inquiries and bookings for international travel is outpacing domestic travel. So they are ready to get out there and explore. So all of this points to the fact that it's time to make plans and initiate bookings for your club members. We all know the desire is there. And as I mentioned earlier, planning for travel is a psychological boost. And we all need that to help us shake off this very real pandemic depression on top of everything else, with which we're dealing. So your bank and your travel club alongside your tour operator partner can help bring this joy to all of your club members. So what kinds of domestic tours are being booked now, and what do we see in the near term? So once again, we asked our members, and a good percentage of NTA tour operators are offering day tours throughout the year. This is a way for them to bring in a little bit of revenue and to help travelers regain confidence in travel, which is, that's a very, very good thing. However, it's important to note that multi-day tours are on the return. So for multi-day tours that are 2 to 4 days, and that's the center graph, 65% are offering these tours and packages in the second quarter, and 90% are operating 2 to 4 day tours in the third quarter, and then another 75% in Q4. So 60% of NTA operators have multi-day tours of 5 or more days running in the second quarter, and then another 84% are operating these longer multi-day tours in the third quarter, and then 80% in the fourth quarter. So this slightly higher percentage of tour operators offering the longer tours, to me, is a promising indication that longer tours are becoming more of the norm later in the year. So, throughout the pandemic, uncertainty has been one of our greatest enemies, uncertainty in all facets of our lives. And that includes uncertainty when a travel professional has tried to do his or her job, as well as, you, the bankers, with your travel clubs. And we know that patchwork restrictions with hotels and restaurants and shopping venues and other tourism focused businesses has been a real challenge. And we wanted to get a sense of that from our members based on their locations. And as you can see, we have a less than 50% open rate within the US. And then as you can also see, the open and capacity rates, it varies throughout the country. So this patchwork environment compounds the planning challenges when a tour is trying to go from one state or even just one city to the next. So we know that these factors such as the patchwork government restrictions and supplier closures are two byproducts of the pandemic. So we wanted to take a look at some other things that are happening now, and what you're seeing is a word cloud. So we asked our members, what are they experiencing with the pandemic? And the larger the words, or the more often that we saw that in the results. And I just want to take a look at some things that are happening, and some of these were already in play, and the pandemic simply amplified these in consumer behavior and requests. And those would be smaller groups, more independent travel and private tours, and shorter booking windows. Those things were already happening, and they're really here to stay. And then others have been driven exclusively by the pandemic. And I think they're here to stay for a while, especially until consumer confidence rebounds. And that would be more interest in outdoor activities. But with our extreme weather right now, that makes it a little more difficult, or in some places impossible. There's also been more interest in local and regional travel, and then expectation of refunds. Those are some things that have been really more driven by the pandemic. So, with these mitigating factors and the uncertainty, NTA members know that the recovery, or the road to recovery, will be longer and bumpier. But like I said, there is resiliency. People want to travel. So tour operators have been pivoting with their products. And I have some examples to share. These are actually coming from our tour operators from that survey. And this will help us look at the changing landscape of escorted tours and package travel. All right, so some examples of product pivot. We talked about many of them are offering shorter trips and one-day tours. Never before 2020 had I seen the percentage of NTA tour companies offering one-day tours to be as high as it is. But as I mentioned, it is an opportunity for them to get some revenue and to meet traveler demand. They want to get out there, but they need to get their travel legs under them. So that's been happening. Operators have been creating regional itineraries with experiences closer to home. And, bankers, I know that you are well-respected leaders in your community, and everyone is talking about supporting their local businesses. And these one-day tours primarily help the attractions and shopping venues and restaurants in your community. And whereas the overnights also help the hotels and the destination itself through the room tax revenue. And I recognize that many of you may plan and execute your one-day tours or your shorter trips by yourself. And I know most of you already handle more than one job role at your bank. And fortunately, due to layoffs, you imagine you may be wearing even more hats now. So, with the pandemic and the necessity to ensure that all details are handled by a professional working in travel day in and day out, I see this as a really good time to entrust all of your travel planning with your PTO, something to think about. I certainly know I'm not going to stuff all of my money under that proverbial mattress. And your PTO working alongside their partners can give you, your managers, and your customers the confidence that they need to get back out on the road. They have the mitigation plans. They work with their partners to know what's open and who their new contacts are and what the COVID protocol may be, so that everyone can ensure that that's being followed. And it's not a surprise when you show up somewhere. So that's something to think about. And excuse me, another product pivot that we've heard is our tour operators are reinvigorating weekend getaways with those outdoor activities, whether it be kayaking, hiking, biking, and picnicking. And I know this is not exactly in your realm, but our operators mentioned it, so I wanted to bring it up. They're focusing more on friends and family travel. It's called quarantine bubble travel. There's the private tours for under 10 people, and we talked earlier about the smaller groups as well. And then because it gives travelers a stronger confidence in health and safety, many are turning to higher end packages. And I know that's something that you all already do now. And then due to border closures, they're turning from international travel to domestic travel, but something with an international feel. Okay, so I have another pivot for you, and this is coming from a toolkit that NTA is developing. And once again, you guys are the first to see this. And these are guidelines and suggestions for tour operators, and they've been developed after NTA's research of a lot of scientific and health and safety information. Now many tour operators will have their own mitigation procedures and COVID requirements, and of course they're going to listen to their customers and what does the customer want or need. So you need to find the tour company that best meets your needs and expectations. But NTA's guidelines are based on the fact that the transmission of COVID-19 is thought to be spread primarily through airborne droplets, through shared air. And the more droplets that a healthy person inhales that were expelled by an infected person, the greater the chance that the healthy one becomes infected too. So tour operators can take steps to reduce the amount of air that passengers share, and the most relevant factors with that are proximity, interaction, ventilation, others, and time. So that's where pivot comes in to play. So let's talk about the first P, which is proximity, and this, social distancing. And I frankly actually like to call it physical distancing. We've really talked about 6 feet and more separation provides even greater safety when that is possible. And, this is establishing and maintaining between guests, distance between guests while you're on the road. Have guests keep their seats throughout the tour. I know there's has always been something where we're rotating the seats. That's something that we need to not do. And I've heard, many motor coach companies and operators are no longer doing that. Of course, we want to load from the back to the front and then unload from the front to the back. And then for hotel stays, consider reducing or eliminating the single supplements so that single travelers can easily occupy single rooms. And then be even more cautious about people outside your group. And once again, these are just guidelines that we plan to share with our tour operators. And then interaction. More droplets are expelled by talking and yelling, especially by coughs and sneezes. So as much as you can, avoid crowded situations with people outside of your group. Once again, that little bubble that you've created with your group. And then maintain distance and wear masks. Okay, the V and pivot, that was ventilation and fresh air, either from being outdoors, which is best, or being indoors with enhanced filtration or a steady stream of fresh air decreases the number of viral particles in the air that's shared. And this is not on the screen, but state-of-the-art motor coaches have very good, very robust ventilation systems. And then there is research that airplanes are actually very safe. And some have even said that it's safer than going to a grocery. So these are just things to keep in mind, but also think about eating your meals outdoors when possible, and then conduct as many activities and group meetings as you can outdoors when possible. All right, the O in pivot is others. And the more people that share air, the greater the chance that at least one of them is infected, and the greater the risk that a healthy person is taking. So once again, do what you can to work with partners who can help you avoid crowded venues. And I know your PTOs are the ones who have those great relationships where they can make those kinds of things happen. And then when eating indoors, you want to maintain small groups. And then of course, that means working with restaurants and attractions and other partners to keep your group separated from other guests. And then finally, the T in pivot is time. And a passing exposure might not produce enough viral particles to spread the infection, but a prolonged time together can. And so think about taking breaks to air out your vehicle and allow guests to step outside. If you have a longer stretch of time that you may be on the road in that motor coach, you may just need to take more breaks and to take those as outside breaks. All right, so in closing, I want to share what we encourage our members, and this is based on what we're hearing from them when we have individual meetings with each of our groups, or if we're bringing everyone together. This is what we've been hearing and what we hope will help everyone work more effectively together to get everyone on that road to recovery. And resiliency does have so much to do with it, but we really need to put meaningful, relevant action to get things moving. So we ask our members to keep their websites current. And this is something that we've heard frequently throughout the pandemic. DMOs and suppliers need to, they're very here now with their information, but let's actually talk about the future. If you know when you may be reopening or what the plans are, post that on your websites and who your new contacts may be. And we've heard that from our suppliers and DMOs with the operators as well. So it's definitely a two-way street there. And maintain communication. That has been absolutely key, because unfortunately there has been a lot of staffing turnovers and furloughs and layoffs. We just need to know who everyone's contacts are. And for the near term, we continue to encourage our members to create those one-day or shorter multi-day experiences. But as you saw in the third and fourth quarter, we're definitely looking to those 5 or more day itineraries being needed. Curate small group adventures and experiences to help people get outdoors. And suppliers, if you have not already, please revise your deposit policies and booking minimums, with those shorter booking windows and with groups getting smaller. The operators really need some assistance there so that everyone can work together to reopen travel. And the most important is to be flexible. Seek collaboration. I don't have be kind on here, but I know that throughout the pandemic, sometimes it's brought out the worst in us, and it's definitely brought out the best in so many people. But we all need to know that we're in this together, and together we truly can go further and do what we need to do to get travel back on the road. So that does conclude everything I wanted to share with you all, and my email address is up there if anyone would ever like to touch base with me. And I am happy to answer any questions that may have come in or comments. Happy to have a discussion. I believe that we have a little bit of time left, about 6 minutes. That's what I thought we had. So happy to answer any questions.
Feel free to unmute.
I can just say, wow, that was a lot of valuable information right there. Thank you so much.
Oh, Kathy, thank you very much. And I'm happy to share, I meant to say that at the beginning, I'm happy to share this, Tina, if you would like to put this out.
I just asked Ted if he could ask you for it. So thank you. I'd love to post it online so everybody will have it on our conference homepage.
Yep, absolutely.
That's great. Thank you.
I think it'd be a great thing for us to share with management to give them some, some hope and guidelines for us as well.
Yeah, Tammy, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I had some great conversations with Ted and Tina leading into this, and knowing that, what are the challenges may be, you all trying to convince your managers that it's really time. Your customers want to get out there, and so I hope this will help.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Catherine. This is Julie Cromuggy at Travel Dubuque, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for this information, and also thank you to you and your team throughout this entire past year. A lot of the information that you have provided to us as communities, even small communities across the country, has really helped us to keep our doors open, to continue showing our leaders in the community that travel is coming back and travel is going to continue to make our community grow. So just wanted to say thank you for that. We certainly appreciate it.
Julie, thank you so much. That means the world. Our little team here at NTA, they're the best. They're just fantastic. And I will indeed pass along your kind words, because that'll mean a lot to them. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Ted or Tina, are there any questions?
Catherine, there weren't anything posted that I'm aware of in the chat, unless it just came in when I wasn't looking. But it's very common when our community is learning new things to take some moments to absorb it all. And then we have the opportunity this week for a lot of networking sessions when we are going into breakout rooms and so on, and to be sharing some of these topics that you've brought up, I'm sure will be heavily discussed as we go forward. I want to thank you on a very personal basis, of course, for doing this presentation today. You hit on so many points that are so important to us. And although you were unaware of it, in the last 2 days, our PTOs have been doing their own destination showcases, and they've been reinforcing a lot of what you shared with us today. So our bankers now are hearing not just from the self-serving, if you will, tour operators who are looking for this business, but they're hearing from the national associations and the, whether it's membership-based or the governmental agencies, that these statistics are real, that business will be coming back. And I think that I'm hopeful that this is very enlightening for everybody. Catherine joined NTA, probably a couple of years after I served on my board position for NTA. So I've known her for all of those years. And it was very clear right away that Catherine was a bright star, that something was going to happen with this young lady. And I am really proud that she's grown so much and become now our president at NTA. NTA has been an important association in my life. As Julie mentioned, how valuable they've been to everybody in the industry. They continue to do great work, and they have a great staff as always. And you can see this sort of leadership, why that happens. So thank you, Catherine, for being a good friend, a good leader here today, and for helping all of us through a really difficult time.
Ted, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you are indeed a good friend. I've appreciated knowing you and everything I've learned from you over the years. And once again, it's awesome to see familiar faces with the NTA members on here. And Stacy and Nashville, thank you again for hosting this morning. So Ted and Tina, I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks again.
Thank you. And we've invited Catherine to participate all week. You probably have no need to participate during the BAM appointments because we'll be breaking up into those things. But we have another keynote speaker tomorrow morning. And of course, tomorrow afternoon is the panel of industry leaders speaking. So we look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, that's at 2 o'clock Central Time tomorrow.
Awesome. Which
Central
I now, yes, Central Time.
All right. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
So it's time for a break, and we want to thank our sponsor, Colette, for supporting us, and we invite you to stay tuned for the next 5 minutes for their presentation. And then when it's done, you can go grab a beverage and a snack, do a little stretch, and come back to the meeting by 10:45 to begin our first session of BAM appointments. So you know how important it is to be on time, 10:45. So please welcome now Jim Edwards, who has been a strong supporter of Colette. You've been with us for a very long time, and we've always appreciated you, especially during this conference. You have really stepped up in so many ways, and you're a board member. We've really leaned on you a lot, and we appreciate your being that support. So please take a couple minutes here to do your bid event for us, and then we'll dismiss for our break.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Hey, thank you. And I also want to say thanks to Catherine. She's been a great leader. We've really appreciated her leadership at NTA. Colette, of course, is a longtime member of NTA and many national organizations. But I'm going to share my screen with you today. Let me get to that. Just a real quick little bit. Hopefully you can see that screen. Are you seeing a picture of the Edwards family right now?
Yes, we've got it.
I didn't want to be left out. Everybody was sharing pictures of babies and animals. And many of you know that I've been with Colette my entire career, 24 years, proudly serving Colette. But for almost 30 years, I've been the president of a little known nonprofit called the Edwards Family. And that includes my wife, Judy, almost 30 years this fall. My oldest son, Zach, who's 28, there on the left-hand side, and my baby, both my boys are my babies, but my true baby is Owen on the right. He's not so little. He's a junior in high school, soon to be 17. So I just wanted to share that with you. Sometimes we don't get a chance to really share a little more personal information about each other. So I wanted to make sure you know a little bit more about me. But also, coming off of Catherine's presentation, it's a great segue into Colette, because we've really led the way. We've led the way in restarting travel, and all the things that she talked about, having flexibility and choice, and people that have an expectation of getting money back is huge. And that's certainly important. So I wanted to re-emphasize that. A lot of you all heard me talk on Monday, but of course, there's no upfront money to hold space with Colette, penalty-free cancellations. Our travel protection, even before COVID, was canceled for any reason up until 24 hours before departure, with a full money-back refund, not 70%, but 100%, including air. So those things are all important, and that's helping to drive confidence to relaunch and restart travel. We're going to be back on the road in April with most of our USA products and Costa Rica. And then you'll hear from some of my colleagues tomorrow, actually. Jeff Roy will be on the panel. You'll hear from Mark Godin, another one of our great tour managers, who will speak tomorrow about operating tours during COVID. So it's great to see the protocols in print. It's great to hear people talk about them. But what we want you to do is see these protocols in action as people live through it with our guides, with our guests. So I've got another video for you. And actually, I don't know if I maximize the sound. Let me go ahead and stop sharing and make sure I do that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, let me do that one more time. But I mentioned also yesterday that we're sold through a national travel agent network. You probably all know AAA, one of the largest and best brands for travel professionals across the United States, but there are many more, and we're national travel providers and preferred providers for many of them. You're going to hear from Renee from Direct Travel. It's a virtuoso travel agency with many agents across the United States and Canada, and they sell our product. They had a chance to go on board our Painted Canyons and Deserts trip, and just want to share his comments, and you're going to see footage from that tour.